In this video, I will walk you through installing the Workspace ONE Excel add-in API on a server. Because the Excel add-in is much more responsive with a caching layer, I've chosen to show how to deploy using an in-memory cache on either Linux or Windows. Memori has built an excellent product for Windows, so in this video, I'll be installing using Memori. In another video, I'll go over the Linux installation with Redis. In both cases, I'll be using Node.js as the API backend. Optionally, you can choose to put Nginx in front of Node.js if your security team requires it, but I won't be covering that here. I've decided to show the backend installation separately from running the application because I think most people don't want to run backend applications on their laptops. The requirements are pretty light considering it's an in-memory cache, so disk I/O will not be required. The size of your environment will determine the RAM size required. If your environment has 10,000 devices, your memory requirements should never exceed 500 megabytes. If your environment contains 100,000 devices, I would plan for 4 to 6 gigabytes of RAM for the cache, which probably means 8 gigabytes for the computer. CPU requirements for 10,000 devices will be 2 cores or 4 threads. 100,000 devices should be 4 cores or 8 threads. Disk space requirements are just enough room for the backup of your cache and the number of backups you want to keep. The database files compress somewhat, so the disk size is less than the memory size. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is go to the VMware Code GitHub and download the EUC samples repository. Once downloaded, unzip it and open the EUC samples master folder, then Windows Samples, Tools and Utilities, finally the Excel add-in. You copy the Simple Node API folder, paste that onto your C drive, then copy the app folder and paste that inside your Simple Node API directory in the www directory. The next step is to install Node.js and run npm install. So let's go to the nodejs.org. I'll download the latest LTS version and run the installer. Click Next. Accept all the defaults. None of the modules I'm installing require compilation, so you can skip the extra tools. Next, we'll go to memori.com. The developer edition is fully featured and just requires a restart after 10 days. So let's download that one for now. I'll run the installer, accept all the defaults, and install it. And that's it for the installation of software on this virtual machine. Alright, so now you've installed Node, you've installed the caching layer. Now there's a couple little cleanup things you need to do to make things convenient. First thing you need to do is go into your advanced firewall settings and open up port 443. So let's go to do that. Windows Firewall, go to advanced settings. There we are. Inbound rules. Let's make a new rule. Very simple. Port 443, allow the connection, turn off public, make sure everything's private. Node.js. So that's active. I'm going to go to my C drive, program files, Node.js. There is a batch file, and at the end of that, I'm going to add cd /, and then node server.js. That'll make things very easy. Let's save that. So next we need to run npm install. So let's open up the Node.js command prompt. Then we need to go into the directory and run npm install. All done. Alright, so now that you've done that and you've run npm install, let's run Node.js. You'll notice everything started up. So now that it's started up, it's asking you about a security warning about certificates. That's because this is the auto-generated root certificate from the Microsoft Office Dev Certs that I'm using to give you SSL access. You can take a look here. Let me hit yes on this first of all. The second one is a duplicate. That's okay. So Office Add-in Dev Certs. It's written by Microsoft, and it allows you to install on Node.js, automatically generate and install developer certificates on this machine. If you go to C, Users, My User, it generates a certificate here. So that's done. So now if I go to my Node.js, you'll notice there's localhost 443. Let me copy that. And there we are. Let's go into /app, and you'll see that the app is running, and it's asking you to sideload it. So now the app is working, so let's go fix up Excel. In the documentation and install guides, it talks about getting the manifest.xml and putting it in certain spots. So let's deal with the manifest.xml first. Remember that I told you that in the certificate, I put the host name. Let's review that for a second. So you go look at the SAN, and you'll see the host name of the computer is there. This allows you to edit the host file on any computer that's going to connect to this and put in that host name. So let's take care of that right now. To do that, let's go to Simple Node API, www, under App and Assets. I've put the manifest XML there. You'll need to edit this. I'm using Notepad, and basically you're going to look to find and replace localhost, which is what I have set up in the file by default, and you're going to change that to the host name of the computer. Okay, so find next, you'll see it's there. Replace, replace. There's about 6 or 7 spots that you need to replace it. This is what tells Excel where to go find the app and to find all the pictures that show up in the app. Okay, so let's save that. And this file then you're going to copy to your other computer. So I'm going to copy that, go to a folder, a shared folder, which I have mapped over from this RDP client. I'm going to paste that in. Then I'll bring in my test computer, which has Excel and everything loaded on it, but nothing else. And I'm going to go to that same folder, grab that manifest XML, and put it into my app folder, which I have configured on the C drive. It's my shared app folder. Replace that, and that's it. Next, you need to edit your host file. I go Notepad, drivers, etc., hosts. Make sure there's a dot at the end. And I'll put in the address of that other computer. And the host name. Save my host file. Switch back to the other computer. Go to that folder I showed you earlier, C, Users, and then in this Dev Certs, I'm going to grab the CA cert, which is automatically generated. Let's copy that. Put that in the shared folder. Now I go back to my other server, other computer. Okay, let's go to the shared folder. double click on that and add it. I'm going to install the certificate. I'm going to put it in current user. I'm going to choose Trusted Root Certificate Authorities. Let's finish that. Hit yes. Similar to the message you saw on the other computer. So after that, now I go back to Excel, restart Excel, go into a blank workbook, go Insert, My Add-ins, go to Shared Folder and refresh, and you'll see that now that the icon is there. Double click, it inserts the new icon, and I'm ready to log in and get started. For that, you'll have to wait for the next video on how to use the app.